Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Get early access to all of our interviews, including the monthly Chichester Chats with writer and comic book legend DG Chichester, new episodes of classic Capes and Lunatics shows, including The Quantum Zone, This, That, or the Third, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there. Wow, all right, kids. Welcome back to another month of the Chichester Chats with me, Phil, Lilith, and of course, writer, James Bond fanboy, Mr. D. Chichester.
Why haven't you been doing that intro all along? That's cool.
I don't know, because usually when we have a guest, I don't know, sometimes we just dive in and I add it later.
Right.
But again, I mean, we just consider me and Lil consider you part of the team now, so we're just like,
thank you. Well, no, it's fun.
The rest of us. Yes,
it's 28 episodes in.
Yeah, we are. So who did the intros? Who made you guys? Who created the little loading animations?
I did.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Very cool.
All right, so yes, kids. Well, by now, if you've been listening the last couple of weeks, you should know what we're going to be talking about this week. Daredevil Black Armor #3.
Wow! Look at the Bagley cover. Yes. Once again, my mother snatched the the variant cover out of my hands, so I have no Kevin Eastman cover, and probably will never get one at this point. But
which
one
do you want? Do you want the color or the black and white one? I'll send you one.
Is it black? Is both? Oh my God!
I have both.
Color in black and white, yeah.
She morbidly said, I can have it when she's dead. That's what, that's how much she wanted it. So
you can have this thing you created when I'm dead.
Exactly. So there's no oh son, have it. There's none of that.
Yeah, Lil's got a few because not only is she a fan of this, but she's also a fan of Ninja Turtles. So
yeah.
So I wanted to pitch something because I want to manifest. So I was thinking maybe we were just actually talking about this because we just covered Batman and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but Matt and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles share an origin story, and we need to make it canon. So we need you and Eastman to work together to make that happen.
I would be totally down for that. That would not be a problem. I thought that was a really striking cover, even though, once again, Black Armor did not have the black armor on it, but I'll forgive Kevin Eastman. So it was very dynamic and eye-catching. So, and I can look at it anytime I'm over at my mother's house. So,
is it possible? Do you think they reached out to Kevin Eastman and did he not know specifically it'd be for Black Armor, or were they just like, hey, can you give us some Ninja Turtle and Daredevil cover? And they were just like, he was just.
I imagine it was probably like that. It was like it was similar to that. That GalaxyCon one, that was done.
Yeah.
It's like the GalaxyCon, variant that they did, special for the show. And, I don't think the artist was ever told, the thing was like, hey, we're doing a special Daredevil cover. And they did it and they got it in and probably got it in so late that there was no time to kind of go back and say, no, it's supposed to be this one. So it's, I imagine it was much the same, and they just kind of rolled with it from there.
Okay, I have a question. I'm going to try to manifest something here.
Yep.
All right, so Lilith, I mean, you know how much I've been gushing over the new Ultimate Spider-Man #1.
Oh, are we pitching Ultimate Daredevil?
Exactly. Dan, if they came to you with Ultimate Daredevil, where basically it's a different universe, you can do whatever, as long as he's a blind lawyer.
Starting places wherever you want.
So help me.
As long as he's blind lawyer by day, vigilante by night, what would you change?
Is that the ultimate? I'm like, the gap between things. Certain things I paid a lot of attention to, certain things I picked up and read. What's the 30-second pitch on the Ultimate books? That's it.
It's a new universe. I mean, it's not even like the old Ultimate Universe. It's the Spider-Man one. He's 35 years old. He's already married to Mary Jane. They have 2 kids.
Right.
There's no floating heads of guilt. I mean, Uncle Ben's alive. Aunt May's dead, but he had nothing to do with Aunt May's death. So, and long story short,
blank slate.
He gets to pick whether he wants to become Spider-Man or not.
So it's kind of like if in the 70s or early 80s they went to a author and said, "We want you to do a novelization of a character, and you don't have to know anything about it.
Exactly.
You
That's
just
literally the
picture."
pitch. Yeah.
Well,
Like,
like we said too. I think a lot of us, including myself, have been crying that we want Spider-Man's marriage back. So I don't know if they're testing the waters by giving us a
Oh, that's
35-year-old married
definitely a test
Spider-Man.
run.
right,
Yeah.
right. So is it? Do the ultimate characters then have to interact with each other? So does that 35-year-old Spider-Man have to? Is he in the same universe as an Ultimate Cap or an Ultimate Hulk, or
Well,
are they all kind
It
of?
depends. I don't think this Spider-Man's doing that, but the original Ultimates, you could.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, this new one, this is the first issue of like this new
right,
Ultimate Universe line. So they really haven't had any of the other books yet, and he gets his powers at the end of the first one. So
yep. So
But
it's
the
just kind of
Ultimates
a
was
way to.
also just a satirical take on like what was happening, and it was time
Yeah.
for like just a fresh take for the 2000s. Is my personal opinion, and that's
Mhm.
kind of how I see Mark Millar was his philosophy.
I mean,
about
so talk about manifesting stuff. That manifested Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury because that's where they
Yeah.
originally did that. Yeah, he drew
Right,
he
right,
was
right.
or Sam Jackson. I was like,
Right, because they did it, and then he came and said, "You're going to sue your ass unless you put me in the movies when you make them." So
Bonus, he
manifest
got
like
to be in Star Wars.
yeah. So I guess the appeal is, as you say, you get to do whatever you want and play it out in different ways. I mean, I guess so. It doesn't sound any more appealing. I'll put it this way than what I recently did because I got to do whatever I wanted.
yeah.
And I don't. I'm not the sort who sort of sits around a lot and grouses about the character or characters and says, "Oh, shit, the Fantastic Four, really need to be, based out of Miami Beach, and why hasn't anybody ever done that?" And I want to see Sue Storm in a bikini all the time and reading the Speedo, and that's the way the book should be.
What is this, 1992?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, I'm still in the 90s zone, but so I don't know. I mean,
Okay.
it doesn't. There's nothing about it that sort of clicks to me like, oh yeah, there's somebody was saying something about what's the new kind of bag edition, like the Red Zone or something like this, where they're doing some kind of harder edged Marvel characters that are going to be bagged, and they're almost like R-rated or something. I was reading something about this.
Oh no, they're not doing Black Label Marvel in it. No,
Something
no,
like
please.
that. And
Please,
and
no.
oh wow, we're gonna have to get Cap, blood drenched or something like this. And it's sort of like, all right, if that's sort of what gets your jollies, I don't know.
You know what? I think they are doing some big crossover. Is it in the spring or the summer? I think where it's going to be like like vampires attack the Marvel universe.
No, that
yeah.
wasn't
Okay,
it.
that's not it.
It was
Okay,
it was
'cause I
it
know
was
they-
more
I know
like the
I said
Black Label thing.
okay, because I know the vampire thing. They said that's
Yeah,
probably
the black. I've
be
seen the
like
vampire
be like
variant.
R-rated, pretty much. It's going to be like the most goriest thing they've ever done and stuff. Yeah.
But so it's sort of like if you get your kicks out of your version of making the character mature. I don't know. I don't mean to throw water on
No.
it.
I just thought you'd have some ideas.
Yeah,
You know,
doesn't
Yeah, like it's the idea you can start him at any point that you want. Like it's your blank slate for.
Yeah, but I mean that
career.
that can sort of be if you're working with the right editor and the right sort of storyline or a mini series or something like that, you can always do that, right? You could always come in at any point and then reimagine this. I mean, this is a perfect example of stuff. I mean, I've walked back into this and suddenly I've established, a new romantic relationship and some people have picked up on little things and said, "Oh, are you saying that his Crusher Creel knew him when he was a kid and stuff like that?" And it's sort of like, so you plant the seeds, and I don't know. I think sure, if they came to me, sure, I'd say yes, and I'd figure out some fun story to tell, but I wouldn't worry so much about like a 50-year-old Daredevil.
Oh no, you don't have to do the old one. Yeah. No. I just thought from the man who gave us what if the Kingpin owned Daredevil, you might have some ideas.
Totally, but that's what it sounds like too. It sounds like, you know, you could almost do like a solid what if riff.
Yeah, it's almost like a what if, but you can do it month to month to month. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that way, I mean, that I think we talked about that story, you know, would actually be a nice jumping off point, or, you know, revisit that story and then extend it out. But we're here to talk about this story.
Flashback is all that I can say. I love a good flashback.
Oh yeah. Because I mean, we did talk about this the first 2 issues, but it's like, yeah, this is the first time you really got to play with like Matt's father and the flashbacks and stuff. Well, you have, so I was just waiting for his father to be like, remember, son, always punch a Nazi, always punch.
Yeah. That's a poster. You know, they should be hanging those around Hell's Kitchen. You know, as you know, they're filming Born Again. You know, just Jack. You know. Jack Murdoch says, always punch a Nazi. And but you guys got the plot too, right? So, you know, you got to read both and contrast and compare as you like.
I mean, I guess different writers have different styles, and like I always assumed everyone just went, okay, here's specifically, here's page 1, panel 1, here's page 1, panel 2, here's and then like you like have to give them like crushing blow by blow detail.
That's a full script, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's full script, and I mean that's how I think I had assumed that that's what I was going to be doing, and so that was always the intention, just because I knew that was the modern way of doing things. I think the plot then script style is definitely old school, but I had, in the long process to get to this, I had written the whole thing out as this detailed plot. And if you read those paragraphs, not quite, but if you sort of read the paragraphs, they do sort of, they are my step sheet. You know, if you read one paragraph and then the next and then the next, for the most part, they kind of had the cadence of a script, where that would be panel 1 and panel 2 and panel 3 and so forth, thinking it through as like a 5 to 7 panel, you know, page at a maximum. So that had been written, and I was waiting for the go ahead that with the final changes, because remember, I had to revise 5 to 4 issues. There were some villain changes. There were some other things that had to happen. So what you got here was the part 3 of the full 90-page plot I had written for all 4 issues. And I was waiting for the go ahead. Yes, the changes are approved. Now go and make it into a script. And instead, what I got was the first 6 pages from Netho through Tom and Devin, and they had just sent the plot off to Netho. And so so they had made the choice, right, you know, I think rightly, to go totally old school with this old school story. And that has worked out, you know, fabulously. I love the way this has worked out, and I actually think this is a much more creative way to work. It's a little riskier, right? You know, because, oh my gosh, what's he going to do if he doesn't follow my sequence in my head? But on the other hand, isn't that sort of the joy of collaboration and kind of getting to something cool, is that surprise and that interpretation of it. I mean, there are places where I, in my head, saw this as like 5 panels, and Netho made it 9 panels. And it works, you know, really, really well. And there are some places where, you know, like in issue 2, where the big splash of the big FU, you know, that Murdoch gives to Strucker at the end was a panel, and he made it the splash page, you know, to end the issue, which becomes this really effective cliffhanger. And also after 3 pages of Strucker, you know, monologuing, it's just even a better payoff when he just says, you know, just ring the fucking bell and, you know, stop talking and let's go. So, you know, to me, it was, this is the way all the old ones were done, you know, the ones I lost. So it was fun to sort of see it, to me, to do it this way.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
backed up safely, correct, sir?
Oh yeah, we got suspenders and belts on this one, Lilith. We got cloud.
All right.
We got thank you. We got 2 hard drives spinning. Yeah, all good.
Because it's just truly heartbreaking that you lost your old stuff, because you see the new stuff that you're doing and you're just like, oh, I can only imagine what the old stuff was.
Well, it's fun.
Such an interesting peak.
I don't. Well, that's kind of why I wanted to send this to you, because we had talked about it so many times, and I don't think my style was different. I mean, this is the way I would have written, dozens, hundreds of comics. This was the way it was, and this is the sort of the style and probably the language and all those sorts of things. But yeah, it's kind of, if you think about it too much, it's a little depressing to sort of say, oh, I can never pick up that plot again and read it up against the comic. But nobody else can either, so maybe that's good.
I've seen them do it before. I mean, it's probably too late now. It's probably the collection's probably at the printers or whatever. But if they ask you for any of your scripts, would you let them put it in the collection? Because I've seen people do that before.
Oh, sure. I think that's fun. I mean, I did the Kickstarter, the Axel's Infernal thing I had done.
Oh yeah, I got my first issue. I was
like, don't think we forgot about that.
No, but there was a special, one of the reward tiers was a PDF that had the script that was written full script, more or less, up against the issue. So I sequenced it, so you read a couple of pages of the script, you saw the equivalent page or pages. There you go. That's beautiful. Look, and high quality package. And I think that's, some people like that. I mean, I used to love the film books, they'd come out with, where they'd have the script of the film, and look at all those neat little things. So definitely, I would have no issue to that. I think that's there's no behind the scenes secrets of that. I mean, you've seen them both at this point. I mean, how does it compare and contrast? And I mean, first of all, did you like the issue? Like, tell me. I'm looking for like ego boost or tearing me down. I mean, how's it going? I mean, how's the story going?
Oh no, it's going good. I mean, you keep surprising us with more things. It's this Mr. Calvin Zabo shows up.
Yes.
Yeah. Hyde's having a renaissance. I don't know what's going on with that. That's like 3 on a match with Hyde. He showed up in Punisher and he showed up in the regular Daredevil book, I guess, all within the space of a couple of months. We
were actually just having that conversation.
Well, he's kind of fun, because he kind of he's kind of everyone's punching bags. I mean, yeah, he'll fight like Spider-Man and Daredevil, but I mean, everyone's, back in the day, he was a Thor guy too, so it's like,
but it was just funny to sort of see, like, him showing up here and showing up there, and I just pulled him out because I wanted a good force of nature to kind of unleash, at a certain point, and I just had him talking like a Dickens character, which is probably off character, but he's fun doing it that way. It's just like in my head, like, this is the way Sabretooth is going to talk. This is the way Hyde's going to talk, and nobody stopped me, so I just ran with it.
See, that's one of my big disappointments, is like, you didn't give Batroc any monologue with that French accent.
I was, there was kind of like, there was a beautiful sort of elegance to using those villains this time, because it was just, yes, they're a bit cannon fodder, or whatever the opposite of a punching bag would be, because they're doing the punching, on this. They're brawlers, but they were fun to work with, and I felt like I just got enough. I got just enough in the sequence with Zabo, where you're sort of like describing their tells and things that they do their bit, and then I got to play with my characters, so, which was not really intentional, but the snake root, and you guys were talking about, like, you ever bring back System Crash, and then you've got like 2 little like whatever cameos to get beat up on, which were fun.
My favorite thing of the plot, like Captain America slugging Hitler, this is one of those punches that immediately lands the moment in the upper echelons of greatest comic book punches ever. I love that little punch.
I mean, shout out to that, though. I mean, that's a pure Sal Buscema, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's beautiful. I mean, that's the page I bought. So I'm waiting for it to arrive. But Yeah, I mean, that Lilith is again writing kind of in a vacuum, right? I don't know who's going to pencil it at that point. I don't know who the artist is. I have no clue. So you're putting extra effort into trying to create that energy, which he captured, which he totally delivered on. But by that point, he'd been going back and forth, quite a bit on the first two issues. But I had written
that was sticking in my head. So I read this before I read the book, and so I'm just waiting and went like, oh, there it is.
Oh, did you? Okay, so you read it. You read it in that sequence. Oh, okay, that's cool. I thought you guys would have read the comic first, and then
I did. Yeah.
So you went the other way.
But I mean, everything Netho's done has been incredible in this. But I mean, I think this might be the greatest page I've seen so far.
He loves that page too.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of a thing where you have to look and think about what the artist is adding to it, and this is something to me that I went back and I looked at the first draft of the first sort of idea I sent to Devin and Tom, which is about 75-80% of that is still in the story. Like the spine of it is still there, but the father stuff was never in this. This is something that kind of the flashbacks to Lilith, the Jack Murdoch stuff, arose a little bit more organically, bit by bit, as lines and things kind of came to me, and then I sort of started to put it through, and it ends up having this sort of effective, to me at least, organic father-son theme, and that ghosting he did, with Jack Murdoch in the background, battling Jack on that page, especially, like that's not included on that page, right? That's not there. The line, about, my father's voice will guide me, was also meant as, that was, I was thinking about my father as I was writing that, but, there was also the religious overtones of, the father's voice, which in my old days, I would have written 40 other caption boxes to sort of explain, my subtext. But but he added the ghosted, battling Jack in the back, which I think is just extraordinary. It's like, it's a great, he's carrying it through. And then when I saw the page, it made it even stronger for me. And then detail wise, I love on the next page how he goes to the trouble of Strucker putting the fucking monocle back in.
It's a look, sir. It's a look.
No, but it's such a good storyteller. It's such a good visual storyteller. Like, to have that level of like thought behind it. I just love the hell
after
out
that painting, he has to keep. He started it with the painting. So he's just this vain.
That's it.
I was gonna say a fancy villain's got a villain.
It's got a villain. The villain's got a villain. But like, and I'm glad we got this. This shirtless, with Butch Geist tribute. From when Butch resurrected him in when I was doing Nick Fury. For whatever reason, he always had Strucker walking around without a shirt. So that was the whole reason of like, like let's get that little homage in here. But
these 100-year-old guys walking around with no shirt on.
I know. But this, I thought that, for me, this was an exhausting issue to script, because once I started to see the art, it all came really fast. It was a great one, but there's just so much packed in this issue, for me at least. I was exhausted. Like, how is all this in here? Like, how are we doing this and moving between these scenes so quickly and effectively? I think, where some comics seem to spend 20 pages moving from room to room, but
is this where you had to pack a lot of it? When you went from 5 issues to 4, did you have to be like, okay, I got a lot of work to do in 3 to?
They all got compacted. I mean, there was this, but there's definitely like some acceleration in here. I think, and the cliffhangers changed. The cliffhanger at one point, I think was probably, Matt just being beaten to a pulp and sort of ending on that, in one of the sequences, and then picking up, on the resurrection, in the next issue. But there was a lot packed in here in terms of there was a little bit more spread, to the fight and that type of thing. But it got its job done and it moved on to the next one. So I think the thing was there might have been a little bit more breathing room in some things, but on the other hand, the breathless quality, I think, of this one especially, works really well. It just keeps going and going and going, and then gets to that punch, and then that that little battle at the end just sets up everything that's gonna happen. And then I'll say Daredevil's effectiveness, in the next issue, I get to play with him in a different way, or there's still some we see a different heroic side of him, which is good to compare to all the violence in this one, the strict violence. There's violence in the next one too. No surprises. No spoilers.
Which is so funny at the end of the script. I mean, for like that last panel where you're just like, he has a calculating grin on his face. And I'm just like, before I read that, I was just like, oh, there's that smirk that he, that you always had Mad Hat, we could tell there's a plan forming in his head. And it's,
well, that's, that's
basically just, come on, Wile E. Coyote, follow me. I'm going to run you right into that cliff.
Right. Well, no, thank you for saying that, Phil. I mean, that is definitely always how I played him, suffering, but that was a quality and little callbacks or whatever that weren't overarchingly, look, I'm pulling from this, but, you'll see another one, in the next one where that smirk kind of comes back and comes into play. And it just feels right that he has that, when he's in the zone, right? He's the top of the game. He's the trickster devil to me, much more so than the evil brooding devil in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah, I mean, that always made sense to me when you had that, because it's like, of course, people would call him the man without fear if they see, he's in this dangerous situation and he's got this big smile on his face. It's like, this guy's not afraid of anything.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that to me, I think
it's like that subtle thing, but it's like, yeah, it makes complete sense.
It's that was the best moment of many, many best moments, in the TV show is, I think we said this before, where the thing is the second season is the stairwell fight, when he realizes that he can't get that gun off, it's strapped to his hand. And then Charlie Cox just does that smile and like, fuck it. He's just like, and he just starts going, there's a dangerous quality to that. And that's pretty cool. It's very unique, in terms of characters, when you get in the zone with that.
Oh yeah, did you see? I guess they're filming that new Born Again as we speak. So.
Oh yeah, I saw like a ton of photos. Everyone's like, going gaga over, the three of them walking together, and the
I
Nelson.
know they're so upset. They're required to shoot New York. Those things are getting leaked left, right, and
yeah, of course. But that's cool that they're in there. I mean, it's cool that they're actually in. It's not just some virtual.
No green screen studio. I'm very excited.
Nelson, Murdoch, and Page on the sign, and but. I mean, I just hope they don't go with the cheap thing of killing Karen, bring her back and then like make that like make that the hook of angst and anger and revenge and all that kind of stuff. But we'll see where they go.
I have not either. Yeah, no, I always like that relationship in the comics, and
yeah, but I don't. They're putting a lot into this. They're doing a lot of, I'm not going to say fan service. They're doing the right things and bringing back established actors and situations and elements that were successful before. And that's obviously making the fan base really happy and really excited. But, Marvel's still got to prove itself, reprove itself in terms of doing these type of things. Because so far with the recent TV stuff, it's been there's been moments, but it's very hit and miss, and it's Echo is had some really cool moments, and then had a lot of like, all right, she's riding a motorcycle again, She's right. Oh, look, she's riding the motorcycle through the town. No, she's riding the motorcycle away from the town. No, she's riding the motorcycle back to the town. It was like,
Yeah, every time she got on that motorcycle, that's the thing. I was like, wait, is she leaving town? I was like, oh no, I guess because it looks like she's like
just like riding through
yeah,
town. Right? You know, it's like they should have like
town, but it's like, oh, I guess she just went across
Right.
town to someone's house.
I'm waiting for the motorcycle dealership, you know, tie-in. It's like scan this QR code and buy yourself an Echo limited edition bike.
Indian Rockhead, baby.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, as the creator,
I like this issue, but like now it's like, oh, it's the penultimate.
I know. I feel the same way. I feel the same way. I'm like, you know, I've enjoyed this. I've enjoyed, you know, the exchange with people and, you know, us talking about like modern day things. And yeah, there's a little bit of yeah, it's over soon, you know. But it's a good,
interesting and fun, and like coming back to this particular point and seeing this fresh take and the new characters that you got to play with in your playground, it's just been really cool to see.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel that. I mean, it's definitely been as I think I've said, you know, I feel it's been a gift for me. It's been like a really elegant, and I think, you know, gift for readers, you know, and in that sense of exposing and opening up this era where it wasn't just those three stories, if you will, you know, four with the one, you know, Greg Wright did, and then, you know, it's kind of tossed in the trash can. This definitely says there's more there if Marvel wants to do more there, and I think we've done a very good, everybody involved, you know, has done a very good job of sort of establishing like this is a pretty cool zone to play in. Like, you know, there's no downside to this costume. There's no downside to this character in this era. There's a lot of richness and things to explore and roads to go down and such. And you know, it's sort of points out the flaw in not playing with it for a long time. You know, even you cannot dispute, I don't think, and definitely I'm biased, but I don't think you can dispute with all these interpretations with the variant covers and all the stuff that Netho's done, like the costume is great. The costume works. The costume's fun. So
I've always said that. I'm like, you know, pretty much everybody got armor in the 90s, and I'm like, this was probably like the best example of, you know,
and it was actually functional and thought out too.
Mhm.
So that's what I appreciate the most. Like, it's not just, oh, it's the 90s. Everybody needs big guns, big pouches, and armor.
Right. And I work the term biomimetic into every issue now, as opposed to mentioning it once and all of Fall from Grace. So, you know, there's a
oh, everybody wanted it, especially what's his face from System Crash. He's like, oh, look at this costume.
Yeah. Yeah, slimy little bitmap. I mean, yeah, bring back this. I need a slimy troll character. Oh wait, I have a slimy troll character. So it's kind of like, you know, it's fun to reach into my bag of tricks and then just give them, you know, to me they're fun little callbacks without having to call attention to them. You know, to me, the Takagi, the snake root.
That's what I was going to ask you. I was to say, as the creator of that character, did you give us a preview of what his final fate will be to die alone in Arizona?
Well, that's Root of Evil. If you ever read the Electro Root of Evil, that's it. That's what happens. So, I mean, that's wherever that takes place in, you know, in the future. I mean, that's what I mean. It's kind of fun to sort of like play with these little future states that nobody has to really understand or know. He's this really badass character, and he gets really weirded out by this, you know, low-level psychic, and that's all that's important in the moment. And then he gets a cool ninja line, you know, while he messes up the other guy, Juan. Job done. Move on from the page, you know, and you know, stuff like that might have had a little bit more space in the original. I think that was probably originally maybe a two-page sequence. So there's a little bit more breathing room. But again, the breathless quality of it, while it meant that Netho had to pack more in, I don't think it gets I think it just moves. I think it moves at a great clip and pays off right at that, where it needs to, right at the moment of that, the silent panels where Strucker's like, was ist los, what is wrong, and then just seeing that moment, where neither he or Daredevil say anything was just like so just great, to me. And all credit again to Netho for delivering on it.
So do you know German, or do you have that German dictionary sitting there?
I took German in high school, but I probably learned nothing except, phrases from Hogan's Heroes and things like that. So I was a bad student, and
I love that you're never afraid to date yourself. I love that.
yeah. Well, yeah. Like Hogan's Heroes, like you put a little, add a little thing.
We need a yellow editor's box for that.
Exactly. Hogan's Heroes, TV series from the 60s and 70s that made Nazis, the comic foils. I don't. But it was funny at the time. I don't know.
It's not old, Lilith. That thing's been syndicated for decades. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what? You're right. It might be on Tubi.
I'm sure it's. Yeah, I'm sure there's got to be like a nostalgia.
I remember watching. No, I remember it was on like in the afternoons when I was.
Well, there's everything. There's a whole zone of things that all fit into that zone. But that's probably where I got that. That The Great Escape. All the classic. World War II. Filmologies, Patton.
But I was gonna say no. I mean, I love the pacing of this. I mean, again, it's it just like your whole thing. And they fight for 5 pages. People don't want people. Sometimes a lot of the modern things I see are just, oh man, they sat here for half the issue and talked. It's like I'm sure people appreciate it. Like, no, we got down to it in this issue.
But there's and I don't discount the need for that. I mean, you've got to have character stuff, but I think we get that. The opening sequence. That's why
it's a nice mix. You've had a nice mix in this, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the flash. That's where the flashbacks work so well for me because they opened it on they opened it on character moments. Coming into the whatever it is, the what I call it, like the locker room. They're all trapped in where he meets Zabo and stuff. I mean, that's all effectively character. I try to make the monologue work in terms of driving character as well. I really enjoyed the whole techno spike thing where he just lashes them with the electric stuff and just does the whole be a man without fear type of thing to himself, because it just reestablishes his cadence in that moment, his cadence of action, his cadence of character. So I felt it balanced well. But
Marvel, we need more of this. We need another I think we need another Daredevil miniseries like this. Takes place right after Fall of the Kingpin, where you explore, Matt's got his life back. What's he do? Oh, Kingpin just lost everything. Now, how does he rebuild?
Well, I should have done that when I was writing the book, a little bit more,
Yeah, but some time had passed between, Fall of the Kingpin and, when you get the Tree of Knowledge. I mean, I'm talking boom, set it between Daredevil 300 and 301. What happens?
Right, but that's what I was trying to do, but I did it poorly. I sort of put Fisk on the back burner and was trying to say, oh, there's a power vacuum and other people are trying to fill it. And the Al story was a stumble, and the Las Vegas story was supposed to be everybody kind of vying for power, and there's moments of that, but
I don't consider the Al story a stumble. I mean, eventually I want to get to that story.
There's weird good stuff in it, but I mean it didn't work as well as I thought it. Maybe it does. Who knows? I'll have to go back and read it.
Again, 30 years of hindsight, sir. I mean,
yeah. It's as I said, I moved on from a lot of it, but I think tactically, from my gauge of what Marvel does with these things, I have no insight beyond this. It would make more sense for them to do more of this, right? To do more in this era. And
I mean, as far as I know, it sold well. And again, it's like they love to, put stuff out there for stuff that's upcoming. And we do have a Daredevil TV show coming here eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, so I mean, this would be another area to play in, but I got no, you know, I got no offers on the table. I got no, you know, insight beyond, you know, hey, last issue was really good, no changes, so that was nice. There's no changes to the
Oh,
script for 4, and
Nice.
that's a nice, you know, that's a nice nod of recognition. Not that there were a lot of there were changes in 1, 2, and 3, but they were all good changes. You know, they were all lined for clarity. Move this, you know, move this dialogue up from here to here. You know, there's nothing.
Basically, just the compression stuff. You know.
More clarity. You know, like I'd write a line, and you know, it would be a little confusing as to what I was trying to say. So it might have been adding a couple 3 words. The Spider-Man sequence, the whole thing of like Spider-Man thinks I'm dead lines, the captions, those were kind of at the end of the sequence. And then, you know, we move them up to the splash page. So right away establishing sort of the scenario and the relationship a little stronger. But the 4th one, yeah, the note, you know, the email I got back was no changes. You know, this is great as is, you know, except for a couple proofreading things, you know, like, you know, missing apostrophe or that kind of stuff. But so it obviously worked out. It worked out well. So, and a different pacing, you know, the 4th one has a different pacing, and for once, you know, the ending doesn't feel rushed. There's no Electra Root of Evil ending. It was like, boom, it's done. Like, you know, here's one panel like afterwards. So it all feels very, very much what it should be. But you guys will be the judge.
He mentioned Spider-Man again. I'm all right. I'm reading into this, Lilith.
Oh no.
I'm waiting for the 4-issue smart ass Spider-Man.
There might be somebody else who shows up in the 4th issue, but it's not.
Oh,
you know. So fun with
let the speculation begin.
He's fighting Strucker.
Who do you pull off the shelf? Like when you're like, you know,
Captain America, Nick Fury.
But no, it's yeah, it's good. It's good stuff.
Or do we just go straight 90s and like have Wolverine drop from the ceiling?
Wolverine
no Wolverine.
They're mid fight from somewhere, some weird story somewhere else, so we just get that one panel in the background. Now that's 90s comics.
Wolverine straight from his adventure in the Pacific Northwest. Yes,
exactly. Drops in. You know, it's all. No, it's good. I'm glad to hear you guys enjoyed the. Enjoyed it. You know, found it's like continuing. You know, the pace and. But Lilith, I was curious just because, you know, you've talked about and you read the plot. I mean, how is it, and I don't know how many plots, comics, you've like read side by side in this way, but I mean, how does it compare, or what does it open up for you?
Yeah, it's interesting to see what gets rearranged, what gets dropped. Well, and then in this instance, I know why some things probably had to be moved around and shifted.
Mm-hmm.
The insight to that is good, but like, no, I think for the most part, smart choices were made. I did like the plot a little bit better.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I feel like maybe some of the dialogue got pushed to the side. I like your dialogue though, so.
What did you feel got pushed to the what did you feel like got pushed to the side, if that's handy in your head?
Maybe like Matt's dialogue didn't get pushed, but like the villain stuff. Like sometimes I like a little more insight into the villain, but it's Von Strucker, so we all know he's a one-track mind guy. I could use one more little witty villain one-liner. I really enjoyed that in like the first couple of issues with Von Strucker. Just his egomaniacalness is just very charming to me in a smarmy way. That's all. That's it. Yeah, I like villains, and I feel like Marvel kind of struggles with villains, but you don't. But Marvel in general, their villains tend to be very like one note, mustache twirling, but not Von Strucker, oddly enough. Like I said, his egomaniacalness is just so charming to me, even though he's a Nazi.
Well, it's
just really funny, that dichotomy of Von Strucker. He just thinks he's more than he is, and it's just nobody gets the picture until he gets punched in the face, you know?
No, that's good. I think that's a great observation, and you know, writing Strucker was actually a little more charming. You know, in the long run, I'm kind of glad, you know, Strucker became, you know, the main guy here, because the alternative was would have to have been a lot nastier. And I think Strucker has a certain charm, you
Yes.
know, to him that allows for putting yourself in his head when I'm writing the dialogue, when you're writing, you know, his speeches and such, where, you know, he feels he's in the right, you know, he feels he's, and that's when you, I think that's where you want to be with villains, because they don't go around thinking they're twirling their mustache and they're evil. They go around thinking they're in the right, you know,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
very Killmonger-esque. It's like, well, I can see your point, but you did kill all these people.
exactly. And you're going to kill a lot more, right? But it's, yeah, it's very, very, very cleanse the earth and let the, you know, the strong, you know, sort themselves out. But not anything to champion. But some people will probably champion. I could see people, you know, there's you know, a lot of Strucker's mindset, you know, came to me from like, for this one particularly, you know, came from a book called Survival of the Richest, which is just a great, great book, about just really awful people, you know, who, you know, those one percenters are the one percenters who are going around, basically waiting for the end times to come, when, you know, all of us, uh, you know, the great unwashed rise up, and they have to like retreat to their bunkers and their space stations, and you know, fortify themselves, you know, against us, and you know, they're waiting for the event, I think they call it, or something to happen. So there's very much that mindset of the Kurgan, you know, we will be those people. So that's actually, you know, stuff you end up drawing a little too much from real life, and then these characters become your mouthpiece for it.
It wasn't over the top though, but like I could have used a little more villainy, just a splash.
A little more villainy.
Yeah.
How so? Like, tell me, like.
I don't know. Like I just felt like it was just a little bit missing from their interactions.
Mm-hmm.
Where I feel like I got a little bit more of it from the plot, but like I think you absolutely nailed the flashback with his dad and stuff. Like that's my favorite part of the book. I feel like not enough people play with that. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's his floating head of guilt, and like some people overdo it, like Spider-Man. We always have to have it mentioned every 20 issues, like clockwork. But like I
Right.
think people forget that severe trauma, and that's where that comes from for Matt. I think they just kind of take that for granted, and I don't think that you do.
Yeah, there's a lot of trauma, you know, to the character, right? When you think
Like
about
they're
it. Right?
always insisting on putting more trauma on the man. I'm like, no, let's explore the stuff he actually has already.
Yeah,
We don't
right.
need more.
I mean, you know, a kid who's like, severely injured, you know, at a young age, doesn't have his mother around, has his father who's trying but is largely absentee, you know, glomming onto what the father is, but being told you can't be what I am, you know, and then losing the father, you know, not too long after. Yeah, there's plenty to work with there. You know?
Yeah. It's like we don't need to constantly have him self-flagellation going on with Matt. Look, we can go dig back into the past on
Right,
that
right.
one.
That can drive him, you know, plenty there. You're right.
Yeah. So I really did appreciate that. I love that part.
Cool.
And is it literally written in the Bible 365 times? Be not afraid.
Yeah, apparently so. I didn't count, but that's. I mean, you know, anybody who knows, you know, I didn't go to Snopes.com to check it out, but I mean, you know, one of the things, and one of the things that, you know, I came across said that, and that was a happy accident. You know, that if you read that part of the plot, Lilith, right, that dialogue is not on that page in that sequence. You know, that whole "be not afraid" thing. I mean, it was more like, you know, you have to be the last man standing was the dialogue sequence that was in my head. But it was a happy accident that as I was, and it was a happy accident that I came across. Well, it's not in this issue, so I won't say it yet. But but while searching for some other, you know, things, you know, on scripture and, you know, dialogue, that's where I kind of came across the be not afraid 365 times. And then I started kind of like play that out. And part of that was wherever I was saying, it's there one time for every day of the year. Which, I had to hold myself back from putting that in as the next caption. But that, I think, would have been the two, that would have been like the 2x4 that you don't need, right? It's like just saying it, it's there, it's 365 times, be that man. That cadence for me worked really well. I was really happy with that.
That's also something we haven't really played up with until very recently is, the whole religious thing for Matt,
Mm-hmm.
Which I think like the environment wasn't conducive to it. But I think like much like Kamala, it's kind of important to the characters that people just kind of let kind of slide by sometimes.
Right, and you have to find the happy balance, between it. I mean, I had it in the church in the first issue, and there's sides of it, and then there's this little nod to it here, and there's, I think, a good nod to it, next issue, couple nods to it next issue again. But you can't get into I guess you could over index on it if that's the story you want to explore. I mean, it's really interesting. I finally read the first issue of the new sequence, that restarted recently, because I was after, once I started this, I did not read anything else that was out there, just because I didn't want the influence, I didn't want the comparison, I didn't want anything. But I thought that was a really kind of fun, weird, choice where it opens up and he's amnesiac and he's a priest and all that. Like, yeah, get right into it there. That was I'll be interested in seeing where that goes.
Yeah, it's a very interesting dichotomy for sure for the new run. And like I said, he kind of takes it back to basics, something that we've been needing for a really long time. So I'm very excited to see what he's gonna do.
Right.
The route that he's gonna take.
Right. Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, you've got that license where they're going to renumber it yet again, I guess. And
even Spider-Man's been renumbered, so
I know, but
Spider-Man has like 6 volumes at this point.
Now it's basically just like when they change a creative team, they renumber.
I know, but that's just like, call it something else. Like, make it like it's its own thing. There's especially now that they're doing this whole ramp up, 60th, year of, Daredevil, and apparently they're doing a special annual, and I'm sure they're going to be doing other things and such. But there's something lost when you can't say what would it be now? It'd be issue 700 or something. I mean, it would probably be if like
what's the legacy numbering, Phil? Huh?
Well, yeah,
you're such a fan of the legacy numbering.
What for Daredevil?
Yeah, I mean, it would be like 700-800 right now.
A lot of them they'll put like the real tiny under the actual. They'll have legacy numbering, and it's I can't remember.
If I left when it was 3,
it's got to be like in the 700s, yeah.
Or before 350, yeah. I mean, it's up there. I mean, that's.
But you know why? You know why they'll have their cake and eat it too, because they'll renumber and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But then if they hit like 700, it'll be like 4, 5. Issue 6 is 700. Legacy number 700, so it'll be
Sure, but this whole thing. Well, nobody wants to come in at issue 457 or whatever. But do your storytelling right, and somebody can come in at 457, right? There's no reason that it can't happen.
Wasn't a problem before, is all that I'll say.
What's that?
It wasn't a problem until very recent. That is a very recent thing, unfortunately.
I guess.
The tradition's been thrown out the window in comics for a lot of things, and it's kind of unfortunate that the younger kids will never really have that. Like I said, like you guys seem like you guys had a lot of camaraderie, and you could just it was a thing, Now it's just like nobody knows anybody, nobody reads anybody's stuff,
I guess, yeah. I mean, yeah, we did have a lot of camaraderie.
Well, like I said, it's good and bad, because it's like back in the day, yeah, you guys were like working in, do a lot of work in the office and stuff. And now it's like, yeah, there's so much more talent. The talent pool is so much bigger because of technology. But then that also hurts because you guys aren't sitting, like you and Netho never sat in the same room.
No, but I felt, and we've never spoken, right? He says he doesn't, speak English well, but he writes English great. And we've had very good dialogues. For whatever reason, he likes to communicate by Twitter, but that's fine. But I mean, so Elon's reading all of our direct messages to each other. But we've had, I think, really good dialogues. I mean, like nice acknowledgments of each other's, talents, questions for clarity. Why not try this instead of this? Here's what I was trying to get at. I don't think that image works quite so well. What if you did this? I mean, we've had those, good exchanges. It wasn't just, here's the plot, like, good luck with it, or here's the plot, I expect you to do exactly what I've written and see you at the end of issue 4, where I'll take all the credit for it. I mean, it's been a, really good dialogue. The opening to this issue after the flashback, that splash in the locker room, the cave, was written as a splash, Lilith, right? But at one point, Netho had an idea to do that as a sequence of panels. And, we talked about that, and I said, listen, I and trust your visual sense. And I do, I have to. And he had already clearly established that he knows what he's doing. But I said, I think given the packedness of this issue, you will benefit more from having that page be opened up and breathing room right at the beginning, because you're not going to have breathing room again until you get to the Strucker page, right? Those are, it's going to be pack sequence after pack sequence after pack sequence. So just think about that. And so, he gave it a rethink and decided to open it up, which I think really works well. But it wasn't like, do it because I wrote it that way. And the editors seem to, they mostly stayed out of our way. Sometimes we try to insert like conversational questions into emails with the editorial team, and usually they didn't weigh in, so we would jump on Twitter and work it out. And, but I felt and do feel, there was a really good camaraderie. I felt like a really good partnership with him throughout this. And that's very fortunate, as opposed to, I think there's a guy illustrating this and, his name's Netho or whatever, it became a partnership versus, just assigned talent. And I have to think that makes it better. I know that makes it.
I'm sure the answer, I hope the answer would be yes. I was going to say, when I read the script, I enjoyed it. I'm like, what I was thinking as I'm reading the script? I'm like, I would like to see a novel from you, like a Daredevil novel, no artist, just you in the page, and see what.
That would be fun. That would be interesting. I mean, I know Alex Segura is writing a Daredevil novel now, and I'm really interested in seeing what he does with it. I mean, he's a really good writer, and he's got a couple of novels, under his belt. So I'm thinking he's going to do a really good job with that. There's a novel, I don't know if there's a novel division or something. I think there's a group within Marvel who's doing that now.
Kind of similar to what, like, I don't know, like, I know DC is more focused on like the young adult, like, novel stuff.
Yeah, I don't know where these are aimed at. I mean, I don't think, and young adult is such a
broad term for publishing.
Well, it is, right? I mean, because it became this thing where established authors couldn't get a science fiction book published anymore, or they couldn't get a Western book published anymore. They couldn't get all these established genres, but now, it's my young adult novel. Oh, well, look at it, right? So it's become this catch-all for.
And a lot of it does end up being fantasy and sci-fi.
Yeah, and that's great. That's terrific.
Any way to get the foot through the door. Sometimes you just got to trick people.
That's right. And there were so many books that were influential to me, as a kid, that were science fiction and fantasy and such, that were not young adult, but they influenced me as a young adult. So wherever it works, I don't know. But again, I don't know where they're positioning these Marvel books. But that would be an interesting thing. That's something I've been thinking about.
Always giving us homework. We read being Matt Murdock, and we're interviewing her. And
yeah,
we might have to reach out to him too. We love it.
See, good.
Being Matt Murdock was really good, though. Thank you for the recommendation.
Yeah.
And thank you for writing this, actually.
Thank you. Well, no, thank you. I mean, I've had fall with this. Somebody said, you know, it seems like I'm really happy writing these. Like, you know, that's their feeling. Like reading even though I'm kicking the
I
shit
love
out
it
of
when you
Matt.
can feel the author's joy through the page. It is like, you don't feel it all the time. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
name names or anything, but you don't feel it all the time. So it's really like refreshing when you can tell that the person that when you're reading them, that they're actually enjoying it, that this was something that they wanted to do and not just a paycheck.
Right, right. Yeah. I mean thank you. That's really the thing. And and that's what the zone I really wanted to maintain, especially in 4, because 4, except at the ending, maybe, you know, had the least amount of dialogue written into the plot. You know, you could see peppered throughout this. You know, I had a lot of ideas of where the dialogue was going to go, and but that had the least amount, and so that was probably the biggest struggle to script that one, because I had to work. You know, I hadn't done the pre-work, but I stopped and restarted myself several times because it was feeling like I was doing it as an assignment. You know, I could do it, like I had these tools to like pull and, oh, he could say that or that can happen there, but it didn't feel like it had that same sort of sense of happiness and joy. So I kept restarting myself to make sure that I was in the same zone, and then finally hit it, and then it just all flowed, you know, from there. You'll see the first Netho really just gave me an insane thing to kind of work with on the first 3 pages, and it took me a little bit to find the right cadence, but once I did, it worked out well.
I mean, I think Lilith put it in the words, like my feeling. I mean, this and like even your previous Daredevil work, where it's just like, yeah, I think that's why I enjoyed so much, because it's like Matt, like I said, that smirk on Matt's face half the
Mhm.
time. It's like he's having fun in these situations because you're having fun. So
Yeah.
thank you, Lilith. That's put in the words. Yeah, that's why I love your Daredevil stuff, because you can tell you're having fun. Matt's having fun.
All good. All good. Well, I'm glad this worked out great. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the plot book combo. You've got the special package deal now. You can sell them at conventions. You know.
Never.
We're not your mother.
I'm a selfish fangirl. I'm like, no, it's mine.
Well, yeah, we're not your mother. We're not going to sell these.
I know. That's exactly it. I should check eBay, you know, see if she's on there. It's like,
If you can't find the Eastman cover, let me know and I will send you one.
Oh,
you just let me know if it's color or black and white you want, okay?
I will.
No, like my guy, he was like, if I hadn't actually like pre-ordered the black and white one, he was like, yeah, I couldn't find it anywhere else. You got the last one.
Well, I don't want to take it out of your hands.
Oh, Lilith
I'll find another one. Don't worry. I got 3 comic book guys. I'll find another one.
Lilith Sky will get you whatever you need. She's putting his kids through college. I mean,
and his rock band on tour. So, you know. You got to support your local comic book shops.
Oh, absolutely.
Your local comic book shop guys are pretty cool. Like, I have yet to meet a non-cool comic book shop guy, so. Except for maybe the one that said "Good for you," DJ.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. And you
know,
I went back to that store, and you know, because I was looking for a copy of number 2 or something, which I didn't have, and you know, I ended up talking to that guy a little bit more. I still don't think he knew or cared, you know, who I was. Didn't matter, but you know, he seemed like an okay guy. But again, the store is it's just a place. You know, he's just not doing anything, so it's hard.
Yeah, my guy's got like the games in the back, like a true comic book shop.
Yeah, you know, like you want that. It's a tough business, tough business,
especially right now. Yeah,
especially right now, and a lot of stores are struggling, and you can see they're doing GoFundMe's, and a lot of them didn't have the December they thought they would have. There's a store up in Rhinebeck, New York. I'm going to go do an event in March, and with Howard Mackey, I think, but but you know, I know they're struggling. But my point being, you know, it's such a dynamic, diverse subculture within these stores of games and toys and comics and pop culture. You know, it should have energy, right? And when you walk into a store like this other one, where it's kind of like it's just low energy, it's sort of like, well, I'm going to go support a different store, right? It's hard to kind of like want to support that one when they're not giving you back a little bit. If another one nearby is. So, but yeah, you should always support the local one if you can, because they're putting their heart into it, and you should do what you can instead. Oh, Amazon, let me go
I'm super
purchase that.
lucky, actually. It's the only nice thing about living in the part of Florida that I live in. It's super active, tons of cons. All my
Right.
comic book guys are involved in the cons and stuff. Like they'll like, oh, let me go pick you up from Orlando to bring you down to Tampa so you can like do the signing, and like my guys are
Mm-hmm.
super proactive about it and have
Right.
really good relationships with everybody. So
Right. Yeah, that energy is great to be able to play with. Very
so
cool.
maybe we'll have you down one time.
Yes. Hey, yeah. I'm happy to go almost anywhere.
I'm
Um,
hoping that this season's free comic book day really changes the game for a lot of the comic book places.
is it supposed to be different, or they're
It's
treating it
supposed
different?
they're trying to push to make it a little bit bigger this year. I know
Mm-hmm.
like since 2020, it's been like kind of dwindling on
Right.
the
Right.
activity. So I think this year is really like going to be a big push.
I think they need to make it more evident to people, not like shame them necessarily, but it's let people understand the point of it is not to be a apex predator and grab every friggin' comic you can off the table, but you're in the store to then pick up something else.
Yes.
Like the
Exactly.
store is doing something for you. I think that's the thing they need to kind of position. Like, not that it's just free comic book day. It's sort of like support your local comic shop as well. Free comics and support your local comic
Yeah,
shop.
we have a ton of we have a ton of local artists come down that do like the
Yeah.
drawings of like pop
Yeah.
culture. We have a ton of like actual
Right.
comic book writers and artists with their books for sale and things like that. And
But like
uh
a sign for the
yeah, you have to teach
the
them. Like I was
ignorant.
last year, I was like had a whole bunch of kids. I'm like, oh, you can get this book, but like, hey, there's this ongoing. Have your mom buy it.
Right, exactly. Like, like take your free comic
Or
and
buy something,
consider
even
and
if it's just a
yeah,
Funko
buy
Pop.
something. Right, buy something, like just do it like that so that it not
Yeah, I definitely took time with the younger kids to kind of like teach them the etiquette. So
right. Because otherwise, it's just people come in and they put their arm out and they're just going to scoop the whole
our
12
shops are pretty
piles.
good, but yeah, we do need to like maybe somebody needs to make a video on YouTube. Free comic book day etiquette.
Exactly. Here's how to do it. You're right. Yeah, that could be fun. Like the
Phil, I think
plane
it's up to us.
Oh, there you go.
the plane safety
Maybe
thing.
that's when I'll come down. You want to?
Hmm.
I think that'd be
Oh,
cool.
there you go. Oh yeah,
We
we'll have to
solved it. We're gonna solve the local comic book shop problem, Phil.
Right.
Oh yeah,
Well,
that's a YouTube
But
video
yeah,
waiting to
thank
happen.
you so much for your time. We always appreciate it, and we are gonna see you later on. So
I
excited for
know.
the next
Thank you guys.
Friday.
This
Oh, that's right, kids. Yes, because these are both going to drop this week on the podcast. Yes, if you want more Chichester, yes, stay tuned. Capes and Lunatics episode 321.
You get to see him nerd out about his other favorite subject.
Yes, we're going to do a review on the anniversary of Goldfinger. Yes.
All right. I'm gonna go get my brassy Shirley Bassey going, and I will see you guys this evening. All right. Thanks again.
Thank you, sir.
All right, kiddo. Give me 5.
Yes, ma'am. All right.